Thank you for joining us on the Real News Extra. My name is Fred. I'm the operations manager here at RELAW APC. And joining me today is Jennifer Felten, the principal and founder of RELAW APC. So Jennifer, in a very rare joint action, two of the regulators, the real estate regulators here in California, issued a joint bulletin about paying commissions.
Right.
Tell us about this.
Right. So commissions are in the purview for real estate agents, right? So real estate agents earn compensation for selling homes based upon a contract they enter into with the homeowner. In California, those transactions, the actual handling of the money is done by an escrow agent for the vast majority of transactions.
Right.
And so what has been custom in Southern California in particular is that the brokerage, and in California, the broker gets paid the commission. Real estate agents are not paid commission.
Right.
Only brokers can get paid commission. The brokers can then say, this agent gets this portion of the money, but it's all done by the broker's instruction, and only the broker can technically earn commission in California. So this is really convoluted law because
it's a bit technical.
It is, and it creates this layer of confusion because the brokerage, especially now, is getting very little of that commission. In most cases, that agent is getting 90% or more of that money, right? And so the brokerage doesn't want to get a check for $50,000 and then have to pay the agent. Why not just have escrow pay the agent? So Commission Disbursement Authorization, CDAs, were created to allow the broker to say, here's who's entitled to compensation on this transaction, pay them instead of sending me all the money and then I have to pay them, right? So this has become a practice in Southern California.
Right.
It was when I was an escrow officer 30 years ago, we had got CDAs then, right? So it's been a practice for a very long time. But what happened was people kind of went too far. So the law in California says that only a licensed agent who performs services can get paid, right? So you can't pay out of commission something that requires a license except to a licensee. Well, often a CDA will have you pay the transaction coordinator or pay for the insurance, right? So for example, some brokerages, as part of every deal, the agent has to pay $500 for insurance, and they do it per transaction, things like that. Things that are related to the transaction all make sense, right? But they were doing things like, I owe this guy $50, paid him this $50, and I want you to pay, my gardener. The CDA started going crazy with, it's not every by any means, but there were enough that it caught the eye of the regulator for escrow agents. Because that regulator is looking at escrow dispersing, $50 to Joe's barbecue, right? And like, why is escrow dispersing money to Joe's barbecue out of the commissions that are supposed to be being paid to Bob's brokerage, right? And so the but escrow follows the instructions of the broker. So our position has been, and my position has been, I will say, I've never seen ones where they're like paying random things, but anything that's really associated with the transaction, things like that, I've always said you pay it. The broker's entitled to instruct, as long as they're not asking you to pay something that would require a license, right? For that. So I kind of give it a dollar range that I always kind of said, if it's under this dollar amount, it's probably fine. Well, the regulator didn't agree with me, but it also was because people just took it way too far.
Starting to abuse the system.
They were abusing it. Yeah. So the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, which is the regulator for escrow, went to the DRE, which is the regulator for brokers, and they put out a joint bulletin saying, you can't do this. Right? So escrow cannot pay these random third-party expenses out of escrow. And it went even further because our position has always been the broker's entitled to instruct based upon their commissions. And now the regulators took the position that if you're paying anybody but the broker, then the consumer has to sign off on it. And we don't traditionally have the consumer sign off on the CDAs.
Right.
So now if the broker's going to give us a CDA, we need to ask the consumer to sign off on it.
Right.
The consumers aren't used to doing that, and it's going to look weird. Even though technically they were entitled to all that data before, no one ever cared or asked for it. The lenders had access to it too, by the way. It can be a lending issue. But the agents don't want the consumers to know. So our position is going to be, if you don't want the consumers to sign off on the CDA, we're just going to have to pay your broker, and your broker's going to have to deal with this, right? So it's going to be, by the way, chaos.
Yes, always. When things first start.
The brokers are going to whine, the agents are going to whine, escrow's going to be unhappy and concerned and potentially overreact. So this is going to create a large layer of disputes for several months over who pays what to who and how.
Right. So what type of risk do brokers and escrow professionals have if they do pay an unauthorized third party?
Just your license.
Yeah.
Nothing important.
Yeah. Just your livelihood.
Just your livelihood. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And now that they put this bulletin out, they're looking for it. So it's something that
it's on their radar.
Correct.
Got it.
So this is not a game.
So what should real estate professionals do to update their CDA procedures so they stay compliant?
Yeah, so they have to be very clear. They can pay, the brokerage can collect their commission, the agents who are licensed can pay. One of the issues we have right now is agents will form entities and they want us to pay the entities, so making sure everything's properly licensed and managed before we're paying an entity, because there's a bunch of rules on that as well. But all this third-party stuff just has to go. It cannot be done through escrow.
Got it. Well, thank you. And thank you for joining us for the Real News Extra. If you're enjoying this content, I invite you to click on like or subscribe. And of course, ring that little bell for future notifications. My name is Fred. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.